Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. It's a long ass week. Been readjusting to a new job the past few weeks. Shit's a lot of physical, mental, spiritual. It's a lot of fucking work in general. Been working 10-hour days. The only reason I waited so long to get a pod out this week is I fucking was working second shift and I would fucking go into work at like 1 o'clock and then I get off at like 11:30, 12, and then I fucking stay up till 2, wake up at like 11. It was a shitty schedule. I didn't really have time for much. But that has absolutely, positively nothing to do with this fucking podcast. And that's why we're going to stop talking about it. I'm in East Park. There's a lot of people out here today. But what we're going to talk about today is achieving your dreams. Reaching for your fucking goals. We're going to talk about that kind of shit. Because I work on that shit as much as possible. I try to do it every single day. Because the thing is, we're all born. When we're kids, we have these dreams. We have these aspirations. We want to do great things. But then as we grow older, go through the school system and go get a job, we start to fall away from those dreams. And aim for lower. We get comfortable. We stop wanting to reach for those fucking stars. We start reaching for the damn trees, and we're like, oh, I can reach the leaves, so we're good to go. But that's not how it has to be. Wouldn't you rather have yourself know that you reached for those dreams and fail? And even if you do fail, why would you stop trying? You failed. If you're young, like I'm young, if you're young, even 30, 40 years old young, that's pretty young. You still got so much life left to achieve those dreams. If you failed, that's just fucking meaning you tried. And that attempt did not work. So you fucking go and you try a different way. And keep trying. Don't fucking stop. You keep trying until that fucking goal or that dream is reached. That's just how it has to be. Consistency, discipline, all this shit to help you achieve those goals. But I guess I don't really have a fucking A to B conversation I'm trying to have here. The whole point of the conversation, I guess, is just going to be what you should be doing to heighten those odds of achieving those dreams. The first step, the first thing you should be worrying about is who are you? What do you want to choose? Do you like who you are? Do you want to achieve more? What is that more that you want to achieve? You got to sit down with yourself. You got to sit there for, I don't even know how long. We get not even millions. I don't know how many thoughts we get throughout the day. We get thousands of them at least, though, throughout a 24-hour span. Do you like those thoughts that are coming in your head? If you don't, you have to have the discipline and the will to change those thoughts. Because like I talked about before, there's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset. And you are not fixed at this fucking point. We were all kids and babies at one point. We had to learn and we had to be plastic to get these ideas and all this shit in our head. It didn't just come from nowhere. And so, if you could do that as a kid, the only reason that you stop doing it is because the neuroplasticity goes down. And if you can get that neuroplasticity to keep the same steady pace and gotta keep your brain plastic is what I'm trying to say. You gotta keep it malleable. Always want to learn. Be open. Always improve. Learn, grow, do what you gotta do to fucking achieve these dreams. If you don't like what you're thinking and how your brain works, You got to do something to change that. And it's not going to be an easy road. And you're going to fail. Maybe hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times you're going to fail. But the point of this trying is that you're trying and you're going to make it at some point if you just keep fucking reaching for it. That's the thing. You can't give up. There's no giving up. If you give up, that's true. Giving up is true failure. Because you tried, you said, fuck it, I can't make this, and you gave up and you stopped trying. That's not how you fucking achieve your goals. There's going to be so many failures. Rod Wave, the rapper, says, one thing I learned, you got to take 100 losses before you can take a win. That's fucking true as fuck. You got to take a bunch of losses. You're not going to, it's never a straightforward path, especially if you're trying to get a lot of money or get a lot of fame or get whatever your goals are. You have to keep trying and you have to keep failing. You have to have the resilience and the ability to work through that failure. There's going to be highs, but there's also going to be lows. And if you don't have the ability to work through those lows, you're not going to make it. Because those lows, we all worry about the highs. We're all, oh, this is a great time. I'm happy. But what about the lows? They always hit when you least expect it. And then you're sitting there like, fuck. And that's why people get depressed and anxious and whatever the fucking mental issue where you're at, whatever it is, it's going to be hard to work through. And you got to prepare every single moment of your life for those lows to come. It's not just a one-day thing. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to grind every single day. And you have to make that shit happen. You got to make it so it's like being sick. Everybody loves being well. We take it for granted. I just got a text. I got distracted. We take it for granted being well. We take for granted the ability to breathe through our nose properly or to be able to speak without feeling like shit or energy. And when we get sick, we lose that energy and we lose that ability to breathe properly and all this shit that we lose. And then we complain and bitch and moan because we're sick. But what we don't do, well, a lot of us don't do, is prepare for being sick. Strengthen your immune system. Eat well. Take your vitamins. Do all the things that you can do to not only not get sick, but if you do get sick, you'll fight it a lot quicker. And it won't take you down as much as it usually does. What was my point? Point is, life is the same way. Even when you're well, you got to prepare for everything. Prepare for the lows. Prepare for physical activity. Prepare for mental activity. Prepare for spiritual activity. If you hone every single aspect of your life, it's like saving money as well. You're saving money. Most people save money for a specific reason: retirement, a new car, a new house, whatever it may be. Why aren't you just saving money to save money? There's always things coming up that are unpredictable and that we're gonna have to fight through. But you are not preparing for those moments because you just assume, oh, when it comes, and I'll deal with it then. But if you are building up to that moment, whatever that moment may be, you're going to be kicking ass in that moment. It's not going to tear you down, or I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's like, you're not going to be at a point where you're hitting like an all-time low. You're just like, oh, I've been here before, because you whatever you do, exercise, I mean, there's all kinds of things. Like exercise is a good example because you're torturing yourself. It gets easier to go once you're in some kind of schedule, but it doesn't get easier to do that physical work. It hurts every time. You got to work through that shit every time. But once you do it, you feel better. And you're preparing for hard times. The treadmill and running outside is the best example because it's just you against yourself. There's nobody else out there. If you're just, all you have is your thoughts when you're running. And your thoughts are like, oh, stop this. You're killing yourself. Just stop doing this. You could go home right now. You could go and relax. You can go eat some food. But you gotta fight that urge to fucking give up, basically. Running's that example because once you stop running, especially if you know you can go farther, if you haven't pushed yourself to that limit, you're gonna feel sorry for yourself. And you can't because you gave up. You gotta be like, oh shit, why did I give up so easily? I knew I could go further. I knew I could fucking. That's why we get all these negative emotions and negative thoughts because we know that we have potential. Everybody has potential. Everybody, I believe this wholeheartedly. Everybody has the potential to be great. It's just, are you willing to work towards that potential and grow that potential and do amazing things that on the day to day? Go to the gym, eat well, meditate, do what you gotta do to get to that potential. Because we're human beings are one of the fucking most intelligent species to ever walk Earth, as far as we know. And if we have the potential to build all these great things around us, the car, the light bulb, electricity, whatever else we've built, everything that we used on the day to day, a fridge, a toaster, shit that seems mundane, came out of our brain. It was just a bunch of parts, metal, plastic, all this nonsense that we find in nature, and we put it together in a different way to do a different task. And we could do that with anything. It just takes an amount of knowledge and discipline and experience to be able to do that thing. It's just taking things that already exist. Like you take a tree that's been here for God knows how long, and you cut it down, and you fucking sand it down, you cut it more, and then you get a fucking wood beam, and then you can build a house. Yeah, there's a lot of other parts that go into building a house, but it came from nature. Everything comes from nature. That's why one of my biggest dreams that I have is that I want to own a farm one day, because if I can grow things from the ground, then I have everything I need. Cotton, whatever the fuck, clothes, cotton, polyester, all this shit is made from fucking dirt. You put it in the ground, it grows, you fucking take it and process it, and you have clothes. Same with housing material, same with car material. Metal comes from the ground. Everything comes from the ground. If you can make it come from the ground, you have everything you need. Food comes from the ground. Water comes from the ground. Everything comes from the ground. And then you fucking use what you need to use. And you be fucking frugal with it. Everything else you have is profit. Clothing line, cars, housing material, whatever you need. The point I'm trying to make here is you have to work on that potential. You have to grow your potential. If you're just sitting around all day and you're not fucking doing anything to make any of your dreams come true, well, of course it's going to seem like it's beyond your reach because you're not reaching for it. You're just sitting there. Sure, you're thinking about it, but it takes more than thought. That's why I think manifestation, if manifestation is real, you have to work physically and mentally and spiritually to get to that manifestation. It's not just going to happen. Thinking about it does not make it a possibility. Thinking about it is just the start of a long process. And you have to be able to discipline yourself in order to make that process not only start, but see it to the finish. Because like I said before, there's going to be failure after failure after failure after failure. And it's going to take a long time to work through those failures and those highs and lows to get to where you want to be. All these people who have a lot of money or have a lot of objects like cars or jewelry, all this stuff, they didn't just wake up with it one day. Some people do. But the thing is, coming from nothing and then working towards what you want is going to be way more prideful and beneficial than waking up with it. It's like winning the lottery. People win the lottery all the time, but then they go broke again because they never changed their lifestyle in order to deal with that money. They just got a huge sum of money. And then that money's gone because they didn't know how to use it, and so they just blew it. They blew it all. But if they would invest it or build a business, do something with that money that is going to return profit, then they won't go broke. But that doesn't just happen right away. You have to have the discipline. You have to be building up towards that moment. It's not just a thought process, it's a lifestyle. You have to change your whole lifestyle in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Because it's a long process. It's like lifestyle doesn't just mean how you're living, but it is your entire life as a whole. Because this guy's looking at me. I don't like it. But it's going to be the process of your entire life. Because say you start working on it in your 20s, and then it's going to be dragging over into your 30s and your 40s, and then one day you're 80 years old and your entire life has been leading up to this moment. But most people don't plan that way. Most people plan to where they're just going through life. They don't even think about it most of the time because our brain is trying to make things easier, like I've said before. So if you're not planning and you're not trying actively to improve, then you're going in the opposite direction because you're getting complacent. Your brain's trying to simplify everything. Oh, I wake up every morning and I grab my phone immediately without even thinking about it. And then I go to the bathroom without thinking about it. And then I go to work and don't think about the work I'm doing because I've been there so long and it becomes muscle memory. Then you wake up one day, 40, 50, 60 years old, and you realize, see, the thing is, the whole thing about the society's trap is you're expecting this thing to be here just because you've been working and all this stuff. I should explain that more. So, like, you have a goal and you feel like you're going to change. You're waiting, whatever it may be. Maybe you're a kid, you're waiting to be a grown-up. You're waiting to have this certain lifestyle. But the thing is, you've been working your entire life without thinking, and then you get to a point where you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'm here. I did it. But it's been the same all along. Life is not it's one continuous thing, but it's also not, because there's no separation between childhood and adulthood besides the prefrontal cortex. Your decision making, your planning, the way you think about things, that's what changes. But you yourself are always the same thing. If that makes sense. I'm trying to think about this. It makes sense in one sense because everything's a paradox, all right? You are the same thing, but you're also not the same thing because you're constantly changing, but you're also this one being that has been moving through what we call life. And where else do I want to go with this? I guess that wraps up that part. But see, we have these goals and we have these dreams, and most people don't attain them, don't achieve them. And then they sit there at like 80 years old and they're wondering, what did I do wrong to not be where I want to be in this life? Because most people aim for money, because that's what our society looks at as important. And money is important just because we've made it important. If everything just operated on like a trade system, I give you this product for this product, and we just exchange in that way, the way it used to be, then we wouldn't need money. And then what do we need? Like, that's the question. I think we should be all going after happiness, because happiness is the most important thing. You want to be, that's what everybody wants. People want to be loved, people want to be happy. And money's not going to do that for you. Money can't love you. Money can't give you happiness. You have to facilitate that in yourself. Love is just like any other emotion. You feel happy sometimes and you feel sad the other times. But love, I think love fuels the universe. And that's why a lot of relationships and a lot of like whatever kind of relationship it may be, family, partnership, whatever it may be, I think that's why that most of them fail. Because you, especially during the first 6 months, you have this astronomical amount of love for this person. And then you feel like, oh, it's gone after a certain amount of time because it's not the same. But the thing is, you have to actively seek that love and actively work for it. Because if you're not working for it, it's going to feel like it's not there at all. And that's the same with happiness. It's going to feel like it's not there if you're just sitting in your own self-pity and wallowing in anxiety and depression. If you're just sitting in all this shit, happiness seems unattainable. It seems impossible for you. But if you actively seek that out and you work towards it, and this takes a lot of thinking, because you got to sit there and be like, well, what truly makes me happy? Not spending money, because that only gives you this short rush. It gives you a short dopamine amount. You got to think about what's going to give you dopamine in the long term. Because you just buy this object, whatever it may be, a house, a car, toilet paper, whatever you fucking think is going to get you happiness. And then you're happy with it for a short amount of time. And then once this thing becomes normal, it's gone again. You have to actively seek out that happiness. And that doesn't come from buying things over and over and over again like most people do. Most people's Amazon wish lists are so long that Santa Claus couldn't even check that shit, let alone check it twice. And I am guilty of this myself because I have a lot of books in there that I want to read. But the difference between me buying books and me buying like electronics and other shit is that I'm actively getting some knowledge out of this thing I bought, and I can use it over and over again because my thought process is going to constantly change, and then the book's going to change. Because the world, everybody's got a little different world in their head. We see the world how our mind constructs it. And so if you're not actively working on your mind, you're going to see the world in a shitty manner. Whether that be focusing on money too much, I've been guilty of this myself. Focusing on love too much, focusing on things that are just not going to work for you. Yeah, we all want love and happiness, but if that's all you're focusing on, that's not going to work, because it doesn't just come to you one day. You have to actively seek that out. You have to make yourself lovable. You have to make yourself available for happiness. And it's not going to be there all the time, because it's on a fluctuating slider. You're happy one minute and then you're sad. You love, you feel unloved. It's just part of life. Part of being human is fluctuating through these emotions and actively trying to seek them out. But the thing is, most people seek these emotions out from phones or, like I said, buying things or sex or all this other nonsense. I don't think love is just sexual. I think love, I said it fuels the universe, because I think love, it's like an energy. I think all of it's an energy. Happiness is an energy. Sadness is an energy. Angry is an energy. It's like different waves of energy. And you have to tap in to these certain kinds of energies in order to feel that emotion. And love is a weird one because people think it comes from sex or from buying things you like and you're like, oh, I love this and shit like that. But I think it's a lot more complex than that because it's hard, for me especially, it's hard to feel love. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I don't know where I went. I don't think it was me specifically. I think it's just the way whatever God is made me this way. It's hard to feel love. I gotta actively open myself up to that. And it's like changing the channels on a TV. You gotta fucking tune it. You gotta tune that shit just to fucking tap into those kinds of wavelengths. And it's hard. It's not gonna be easy. And some days you're gonna fucking fail. You're gonna be like, oh, everybody hates me. That's it. But no, not. And that's the thing. That's another thing. To achieve your dreams and seek happiness, you have to be a unique version. David Goggins says you got to be uncommon amongst uncommon people because everybody's different. But in what way are you going to be different to make your difference useful in this society? And it has to be so useful to where you're going to achieve your dreams. It has to be so everybody has to go to you to achieve whatever they're looking for. It's a certain kind of difference that makes you unique to all these different people. And if you're not actively trying to do that, it's not going to work out. It's all about working, not going to some place and making money, but it's effort. You got to put in effort in every aspect of your life. Put in 100% of what you have, whether it be the gym, raising kids, going to work, whatever it may be, taking a shit. You got to put in every effort you have because like I said before, life is one continuous line, but it's also not, in the sense that our brain splits it up into individual activities. I'm going to the gym, and then I'm going to get coffee, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. But it's all one. It's like whoa, that butterfly scared me. I thought it was going to eat me. It's like putting, I don't know why I was thinking teeth, but let's say you're making a necklace out of Cheerios and Fruit Loops and, I don't know, Frosted Flakes, all these kinds of cereals, all right? And every single kind of cereal is a different activity that you're doing in life. And you're making this necklace, right? And you want all kinds of different things on that necklace because it will make the necklace better. And so you put these Cheerios, and then you put these Frosted Flakes, and you put these Fruit Loops and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and you put all these different kinds of cereals on this necklace. That's life. And it's one continuous line, and you're putting this necklace on. That's what life is. It's not just Fruit Loops, and it's not just Cheerios. It's all of the necklace combined, right? And if you're not putting the Fruit Loops on perfectly to the point where you're going to be happy with it, then the Cheerios aren't going to go on perfectly because it's not going to work. It's not going to fit it on there like you want it to. And then the same goes for the other cereals. You have to be actively thinking, and this is where it gets hard, because you have to be thinking about your past. I truly believe memory is not so you could sit there and be depressed and wish that whatever happened in the past comes back or whatever this nonsense people use memory for. I truly believe that, and humans are the only ones who have the ability to think in the past and future. We have like a time machine between our ears. We could go to the past. Oh, I did this 6 years ago. And then we can go to the future. I want to do this in 6 years. And I think we have this ability because we can look at our past and not wallow on it or feel bad or feel guilty or whatever this is. Yeah, those emotions come up, but you can't sit in it like, oh, I'm a piece of shit because I did this. You can't sit on that because you're going to feel like shit all the time and you're not going to be able to achieve what you need to achieve. You got to look at it objectively as if you are another person. It's like, let's say your friend, I don't know, he treated a girl like shit. I've done that in my fucking life. He treated a girl like shit, and then he regrets that he's not with this woman anymore because he fucked it up. Let's just be real. He fucked it up. I've done this myself. But if you were talking to your friend, you wouldn't be like, oh man, you fucked this shit up. You're stupid. You're a piece of shit. You shouldn't have done that. And you deserve to feel like that, actually. You wouldn't talk to a friend like that. That would be rude as fuck. But that's the way we talk to ourselves. Because we're like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. Da, 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 da. That's not how you look at your memory. You treat it like it's your friend. Treat your memory like it's your friend. You look at it and be like, oh, I did this, and it was not right, and here's what was wrong with it. But how can I be better in the future to not make this same mistake again? And that's what our memory is for, is to look at what we fucked up on and improve on that fuck up. And it's not gonna, like I said, it's not gonna happen overnight. You have to continuously work on it. But then you use what you have right now, and this is all coming from the present moment. Most people don't think about it like that. I read The Power of Now like 4 times. And that book, you have to read it many, many times for it to make any sense, because it's weird. It's a weird book, and a lot of it seems like heebie-jeebies, but if you read it a bunch of times, it makes sense, because the past is just an imagined part of the present moment. If you see, how do I think about this? So, okay, I got it. So our memory's pretty shit. I won't lie. Like, we think we remember things good, but we really don't. We remember things differently every time we remember it. It's just a trace, whether it be a smell or a sound or a sight or a touch. We remember things based on that trace, that reminder of the past. And you remember the past of how you are feeling right now. Right? And the same goes for the future. You are looking at the future as an imagined moment of the present moment. You've got this right now, and you want this in the future, right? That's how our memory works. The future, our brains think we can imagine the future pretty well, but we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. We can't, what are we, psychic or something? We don't fucking know what's gonna happen. We just try to guess and hope that we get what's right. And that takes a lot of knowledge, takes a lot of critical thinking, takes a lot of stuff to plan accordingly for the future. The most important part is to look at it objectively. If you look at it through some type of lens, like, oh, this makes me angry, so I'm going to do this. Well, you're not planning what's best for you. You're planning what's going to get rid of this anger. And it might not even get rid of the anger. That's the thing. You got to plan accordingly through a non-judgmental, non-emotional. You basically got to be a robot. Yeah, the emotions are going to be there, but if you're not looking at it through an objective lens, to where you're not planning for some reason, you're just planning. I don't know. It's hard to explain, because our brains have these lenses, and we look at the world through these specific lenses. You have to have an objective lens, not an emotional lens or a judgmental lens or a guilty lens. You gotta have a lens that has no filters. I mean, even the lens is a filter. That's the thing. It's hard to not look at it like this. But the filter you have to have on is just looking at the world how it is, not how your brain perceives it. And even then, you're just looking at it how your brain perceives it. So it's hard as hell. That's why people don't achieve their dreams, because it's hard as hell to work with this fucking machine in our heads. It's never concrete. Our brains are wild. It's like using a phone that's always glitching and shit, or the phone just turns off randomly when you're doing something. It's like a phone that doesn't work, basically. That's how our brains are, because it's not constant. It's not always going to work how you want it to work. That's why it's so hard to use this thing in our heads. But if you're looking at your thoughts, not just your past thoughts and your future thoughts, but all of your thoughts in general, as if it's another person, then that's how you should look at it. Like I said before, you're not going to tell your friend they're retarded or they're pieces of shit, or pump them up, pump their egos up and make them feel like they're gods. You're going to look at it objectively and be like, oh, or at least you should look at it objectively and be like, okay, he did this because of this. But then again, you only have their story. And that's the thing, you only have your own story. Yeah, you're listening to other people's experiences, and you're gaining knowledge from books and TV and podcasts and all this other shit. But my dad's gotta stop texting me. I'm trying to focus. But I don't even know where I was. Oh yeah, you gotta look at it as if it's not you at all. That's just the way I explain it. And even then, when you're looking at it like this, it might not necessarily. I think luck plays a part into it. Science. There's all kinds of fucking factors. That's why it's so hard for people to do what they want to do. People think they're doing what they want to do, but a lot of people are just doing it because they have to. Or not even because they have to, but because they think they have to. But life is so crazy. Life is not predictable at all. That's just, I don't know if you can hear that music, but it's pimping. Life's not solid. It's like a water. You can't pick up water and hold it. You can't pick up life and hold it. It's gonna leak through your hands and it's gonna get you wet. You're gonna have to fucking change your clothes because you just soaked yourself. That's how life is. You gotta change your thoughts because it's gonna soak you. And it's hard. It's not easy at all. But the whole point of life, I think, is this drive and is this improvement to do better and want to be a good person and want to be a loving person. And that's another point that I'm going to have to make is you shouldn't judge anybody for what they're doing. You shouldn't, because who the hell knows if what you're doing is the best? You can't decide that for any other person. We all have these certain experiences and certain knowledge and life in our brain, and that's what accumulates into our identity. But you don't know what this other person has in their head, or what they've been doing, or what they've been through, to know what's best for them. That's why you can't judge people for how they are. You have to just let them be. And you have to love them, not just let them be and avoid them, but you have to love them for them. I think that we're all the same on the inside. We're all these souls, these beings that are just energy. And then on this physical plane that we call reality, I think that we are here to celebrate our differences. Because if we're all the same on the inside, then the outside can be different. Because that is what we're here to look at. There's so many different kinds of ways of living. And you don't have to be like everybody else. That's basically the point I'm trying to make. But I think I rambled for long enough. Let me think if there's anything else I want to talk about. I guess the only thing else I could say is what you want to worry about is not every other, but every aspect you can to make a successful life. What's going to make you happy, not get you financial success. Because success is a very, the word means a bunch of different things. Because if you're aiming for money, then you're successful. It's not about what other people think is successful. It's about what you want to be successful. Maybe having a bunch of kids, I got something in my eye. Maybe having a bunch of kids is what makes you successful to yourself. You have to love yourself. That's where love starts. You have to be willing to accept all your flaws and all your past mistakes, and you have to be able to change your future to how you want it to be. I think that's all I got to say. I love you. Bye.